Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Employment Law Podcast featuring San Diego attorney Ward Heinrichs. Hey, everybody, welcome. You know, summer is here, so happy summer, Ward. Is it nice and warm and toasty in San Diego?
Yes, recently the temperatures went up, the sky's clearing. You know about June gloom and May gray. May was really gray and
Wow.
chilly. But just recently I guess they got these high pressure systems that are close by and they're heating up the desert dramatically. And even on the coast, it's getting warmer, but it's still nice, super nice.
Well, it's always nice in San Diego. Come on. You
Pretty
know,
much.
you get once in a while you get rain and everybody looks at it, goes like, what the heck is that, man? Like, what
Right.
is that stuff falling from the sky? But excited about today because we're going to talk about summer fun. We're going to talk about minimum wage again, but it's actually really important. And everyone, the link to Ward's article is in the episode notes. So check that out. And you can also go to his website, bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. See, it's like imprinted in my brain.
It is. You like that
It
name?
is. It is. I almost like if someone says, "Oh, do you know an attorney in San Diego?" I'm like, "Yes, best employment attorney."
I know the
I don't
best
know his
employment
name
attorney in San
anymore.
Diego.
I just know his website. No, I'm kidding. But summer fun because this is when everyone's like, "Oh man, I want to take a vacation," and so you get into a little bit of like, what is paid vacation versus leave, right? Those are two different things.
Yes, yes, it is. Paid vacation and sometimes called PTO, paid time off. And PTO has different manifestations. Sometimes it's just vacation. Sometimes they combine other types of leave, like sick leave, with it. And I
Ooh.
usually advise my clients who are businesses not to do that because you don't have to pay out sick leave when someone leaves employment, whether they're terminated or whether they quit. So I think it's better not to do that, but some still do. It's just the way they run it, so that's fine. But bottom line is, paid vacation, PTO, they're pretty similar, almost always about the same, and that's where you're allowed to take time off, go on a vacation, and get paid for it.
Okay, get paid for it. But then what about leave is when that's like kind of a mandatory thing for employees across the country or no? Or in
Well, maybe not
California, sorry.
across the
We're
country,
sticking to
definitely.
California.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
California.
sure there are leave statutes in almost every state, and the one that's been growing over the years is the sick leave statutes. California started its sick leave statutes in 2016,
Mhm.
and other states have uh, started doing that as well, passing laws that mandated sick leave that's paid. So if you go, hey, I just can't make it in, um, under those circumstances, the employer pays you for the day, and
Okay.
that's mandatory. That's a law that's been passed by the legislature in California and other states, obviously. But there is no law that requires paid vacation, at
Okay,
least in
vacation
California.
is separate then. So leave that is a law.
That is a law, and there are other leaves, bereavement leave, but that's unpaid. So there's a bunch of different types of leaves. Most of them are unpaid, but there are some that are, and sick leave is one that is.
So when it comes to vacation, PTO, not BTO as Bachman Turner Overdrive. I see I'm like in summer mode now.
Right.
I don't do people still remember who they are? I hope so.
Oh, I love
Taking
them.
care of
Taking
business,
care of
right?
business
Take this
every
job and
day,
shove it. Oh,
taking
yeah.
care of business every way.
Yes. See, but except for vacation time. But vacation is something you negotiate, right? When you go into a new position.
Well, maybe, maybe not. So I would say that there are many employers that are smaller that don't offer paid vacation,
Mhm.
and they say they probably don't even have a vacation policy at all. So you may go in and say, hey, look, I need to take some time off now and again. I'm planning on taking a week or two every year, whatever it is. And I think under those circumstances, you could probably negotiate something. Now, probably not paid because they're not paying vacation,
Mm,
but just to get some time off.
mm.
When the company has a policy to have paid vacation, so when you're on your vacation, you get your regular wages. Um, that usually is part of a very stylized and particular policy that's often in a handbook. and it says, well, if you've been here for 1 or 2 years, you get a week. If you've been here for 5 years, you get 2 weeks. If you've been here for 10
Hmm.
years, you get a month. And so usually it's pretty particularly written up as to what you get and when you can get it.
Okay, and that's paid.
That's paid. Yes.
Okay, so that's according to whatever the relationship is of your contract, basically, with your employer.
Yeah,
What
and the
happens if they
policy.
don't, what if
The
they don't give it to you? If they go, now is that when employees come knocking on your door and they're supposed to get leave and or vacation, paid vacation, and it's part of the policy and contract, and the employer goes, sorry, not this year, I can't afford to pay you your vacation, even though we said we would.
Well, that's a
Ooh.
good question because the employer does have the right to deny you your specific vacation dates. And yeah, they can say, hey, look, we're just too busy. You can't do
Oh,
it.
okay.
And normally you can that part is negotiated when you take it. Normally, uh, you work something out on a year by year basis. But some people, I've had many clients come in and say, I've never taken vacation. You scratch your head and go, oh my gosh. Maybe you love your work that much, but um, then it builds up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's different laws about this. Uh, it can continue to build up and be open ended. So if you never take vacation, you get, a month a year. All of a sudden, if you've worked 12 years, you've got a whole year's worth of vacation. Now, let's say you go, hey, I need to leave. I'm quitting. Bye bye. The employer has to pay that out because it's
Wow.
considered an earned wage. Vacation is considered an earned wage. It's just delayed. The payment is just delayed.
So
As
employers need to basically set that money aside. If they're having financial troubles, do not dip into that.
well, yeah. I mean, there, often there isn't. All right. Now we're getting into the weeds on this one.
Well,
Um, there are there are certain types of programs that qualify at the federal level, and those you have to fund as an employer. But if you don't do that kind, and that's a special kind, it's called a VIBA trust. I'm not going to get into all that,
oh, wow.
but that's really special. Um, Most times, the normal vacation policies aren't required to be funded, but they're going to have to be paid. And so I think most employers don't have a special fund for it. They just do it as part of the operating costs. And
Okay.
it's as if you never left and they just pay you for never leaving. So it's part of payroll.
Mm, okay.
So you don't have to save up for it. They can, and there are certain programs where they have to, but not most.
Okay. Now, what is this sabbatical thing? Because one of my friends took a sabbatical and, you know, she just like, I'm going on sabbatical. And I'm like, well, how does that happen? And I've met a few people going on sabbatical, and I'm always going, I always thought that was some spiritual thing or I don't know. It sounds like it. Sabbath, sabbatical. I don't know what this is. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, Nancy, can I have a sabbatical? And she's like, no, you get back to work. So it's not working. She says you're on a permanent one. So what is that?
Most employers don't offer sabbaticals. Now you see some coming out of Silicon Valley now because
Mm,
many of those companies have a lot of money and they allow that kind of thing for upper echelon employees. But it really started, as far as I know, when I first heard about it, it started with professors, and they would get maybe a year off or something. And I honestly, I don't know whether those were paid or not. And sabbaticals
yeah.
don't have to be paid, but you could pay it, and that would be an agreement, probably in a written employment agreement that spells out the rights to sabbatical and what whether they're paid or not, and things like that. So yes, they do exist. Mostly it used to be only for professors. That's where I first heard about it, and that was just
Yeah, now you're right. Me too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
now that it has grown outside of education.
because it was education and it was so that if they were writing a book or something too, it was kind of like a special, like you were still doing something in your career, like there was some kind of something. But my one friend, I'm looking at her like, what? But she's like, I didn't take, she was coming to the end of her, she was retiring, and she had all this vacation banked up. She had sabbatical. She had all of this, and she's like, "Well, I'm going for a month before I come back and then retire." She was just like taking it, taking it, and well, she was using it so that her the employees she had hired would get used to her not being there. So she was kind of still training them that way, which is really nice for
Yeah.
everybody. That's a smart and nice thing to do. But what about okay? So you go on vacation and this comes from Nancy because we go in the weeds with Nancy always, but all these people are doing remote work and maybe they go on vacation, but hey honey, I've got to go take this meeting real quick. Now,
Oh,
see, she did do the weeds, didn't she?
well, that's a pretty good question.
Nancy, good
Um,
question.
yeah, if all right, so you go on your vacation, and let's say it's not paid. This is the bigger problem.
Oh,
And you bring files with you and you work while you're on vacation. And honestly, I do a little bit of that. It's really hard for me to shut
yeah,
totally down, and it's
yeah,
hard for me to turn down new clients. So
yeah,
I usually do a little bit, but that's me, and I don't penalize myself. If I had an employee who was entitled to some vacation, then that employee, if they're taking, let's say it's unpaid vacation, and they're taking files and they're doing some work, well, they're doing work. They're supposed to get paid.
yeah.
And so there's this period of time where you're not paying them anything because it's unpaid vacation. And they are actually working. So now you're starting to talk about wage and hour violations, unpaid minimum wage violation. They're not getting anything for that work unless you've worked
Hmm.
something out in advance. But assuming you haven't, they're not getting anything. So there's a minimum wage violation. There's a violation for not paying all uh, wages owed. There's a violation for maybe meals periods. I mean, it could just mushroom into something crazy. So
Wow.
that's the bigger problem. Now, if you're on paid vacation, you're already getting paid. And I haven't seen this, so I haven't researched it. But there are probably some minimal issues that you might be facing if they're getting paid anyway. Um, but it's not the worst problem is unpaid vacation and they're working.
Okay. Well, I had a friend too. She came across country and met us where we were, and we hadn't seen her for 2 years, and we had like 3 hours to kind of catch up in over years. So it's been, so we were at a botanical garden, we're walking around, and her colleagues kept calling her. Well, what about this account? She's like, I left everything for you. Go look exactly. I gave you all this already. I prepared you. And they kept calling, and eventually she told them exactly where to go
Yeah,
very politely and said, I'm on vacation. I did my job. Now you go do yours. That's it. I might just never come back. And then a month later, she quit too, and well, she retired. But it was very. She got to a point. It was like every 5 minutes they were calling her, and she had already given. And she's like, "You see this file? Do you see where I typed this?" And they're like, "Yes." And she says, "Is that not your answer?" They're like, "Yes." So she's like, "Hello," and she was getting pissy, which I don't
yeah.
blame her.
Well, you can hardly blame her. It's not that uncommon because, especially professionals or people who are higher up in the
Hmm.
food chain in the company,
Yeah, yeah, she was
they often take stuff with. I mean, you just really, it's hard to
to back off.
stop completely
Mm.
because you don't want things left undone that are important.
Yeah,
So
you want things
that's
to
a
keep
common
going.
problem. That really is. But I think honestly that most people just do it and they think
Hmm.
it's part of professionalism and they're just not going to make any waves when they come back. So I
Hmm.
think mostly
Mm.
it's just not never noticed.
Mm.
And where I have seen it is when someone is on unpaid vacation and they kept, and then now they're going, hey, wait a second, you're making
Yeah.
me work. It's usually the boss calling. It's not someone else. Um,
I changed my
that's
number. I changed my
yeah,
number.
maybe change your number.
You could block your boss. Oh, that's not. Now, what about minimum wage earners? Because I mean, California's minimum wage, as we've covered for years with you, every year goes up, 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 up. It was like what, over $16 now, an hour for
Yeah,
minimum wage?
the state minimum wage is at 16, and I think San Diego's 6.30 now, a little
Okay.
higher. So there are cities that are higher than that.
And then you have the fast track, the Fast Food Act, or
Fast food
with
recovery, yeah,
yeah,
or
and that's
fast
for
recovery act.
fast recovery. Yeah, and so that is for fast food chains with over 60 venues, right?
Yep.
Um, so now do and they get over $20 an hour
Well, they
if you
get
work.
$20 an hour now, and because we've been through all the different machinations of this. It started out at 22, and that's the original legislation that the governor signed. But then the some of the fast food chains said we don't like this, and they put
Mhm.
something on the ballot to negate it. And then they negotiated this new law that's very similar to the old one, but the minimum wage was reduced from 22 to 20. So that's what it is now for those who
Okay.
qualify for the Fast Recovery Act. And that started April 1. So $20 an hour for fast food chains that have 60 or more throughout the country. And there's some exemptions, but we won't get into all those. Um, they pay $20 an hour as of April 1.
So do they get paid vacation on top of that, or leave, or any of that?
Well, they could, but most minimum wage
Oh.
jobs don't offer any paid vacation. So probably, in most cases, it's going to be unpaid.
Yeah, because I think summertime, especially, that's when people are on the road, they're traveling. San Diego is definitely where you are busy. Everyone's going to the beach, and it's like
Yep.
stop off and get, an In-N-Out burger.
Yep.
I just got to bring it up. So,
Yep.
you mentioned in your article that restaurants are starting to kind of close up and move out of California.
Yeah, it's been in the papers, and some of the radio shows talk about it. There have been, and I'm not remembering the specifics of each one of those announcements, but there are some of the fast food chains who have closed um, locations in San Diego and throughout California. And some of the information that we get back from them is that, hey, it's just gotten too hard to do business. This $20 an hour, that's a 25% increase over the
That's a big increase.
it's pretty big. And they're just saying, it's just not worth it. It's hard to make money here, so we're just not.
Mm.
We're going to cut back. That doesn't mean that they necessarily left, but they have shut locations.
Oh, to go under the 60.
No, probably not. I mean, gosh, I wish I remember the specific ones, and I just don't.
Yeah.
But my impression was, or my impression is from hearing
Mm.
and reading some of it, was that they had plenty of places to still qualify for the 60. Oh, yeah, I think Wendy's shut some down. I think,
Oh, wow.
yeah, there were some big places, big box places. So they still would qualify. They're just saying, hey, you know, these locations just aren't that profitable anyway. And now they're just not
So
profitable. So we're just going to
wow,
shut.
so that's actually pulling jobs away. And then what happens to the mom and pop fast food places? And
Well, they don't have to pay 20 because they don't have 60 or more restaurants.
okay,
So
okay,
they pay the 16. Or
okay.
if they're in the city of San Diego again, they're a little higher 16.
What about food trucks? Like, you know, are they considered fast food? I suppose they are.
Um, I think they would be, but they're not going
Yeah,
to have 60, so they're not going to
I love
qualify. Yeah,
food
so
trucks rock.
a lot of their food is really good.
Yeah, it's actually almost fresher and just like get it going and clean. And you have to have your station so well done to be able to get it moving and moving it fast that, we've always said street food. I mean, street food in Africa was fine. Some people maybe not. In Mexico too. You know, I street food is great. And people are like, I'm not eating street food. And I'm like,
Well,
well,
there's higher risk, but I've eaten street food and I've never been sick from it.
mm-mm. We
But
used
you
to have
do hear
maize.
what's
They
that?
used to do they used to do maize on grills in
Oh,
in in Africa like these, and it was like milis. What is milis? Maize. So it's
well,
not like
maize
sweet corn.
was the corn that the Aztecs used to grow,
Hmm.
and I assume it still exists, but I
It's
don't
good
know.
for you. Yeah, yeah, in Africa. And they make mili pop and ugali, which is like almost like polenta out of it. And that's what you eat as like a bread and a staple with stews and greens and stuff. Yeah, it's
Sounds
good.
good.
I put
Hey,
train smash on it. It's like heated up salsa. It's good. Now it's like, wait, this is
sounds
hey.
great.
And then you go to Louisiana and your fast food comes out of a gas station, but it's oh man, everything's fried. Po' boys, meat
Good
pies,
stuff.
boudin.
Crawdads. Mm.
Boudin. Have you had boudin?
Oh yeah, you mean the bakery
Yeah. No,
or
boudin
the bread?
is like no, boudin is like sausage with rice in it, and sometimes they put like hog's head cheese and stuff. Like they basically are using a little bit of everything, and it was like the French brought it in, and Creole seasoning. Sometimes they put shrimp in that, but it's got like a rice because they grow rice in Louisiana, and then you boudin is like Southwest Louisiana specialty, and they have boudin wars.
Wow. I
Yeah,
live
you
in the
should go.
Southwest. Oh, Southwest Louisiana. Okay.
Louisiana. I don't know why I'm going to Louisiana now, but anyway,
Yeah, I don't think
But
I've
fast
had it.
food's different everywhere. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well,
But street food, I've eaten street
tacos.
tacos,
Oh,
and yeah, I've always thought they were delicious. But yeah, there are you hear stories every once in a while about people getting sick. So
be careful.
take your
Yeah.
chances.
Well, good stuff. Keeping everyone informed and reminded of the minimum wage, and also looking at their vacation because a lot of people are looking at going. And it's like one thing you said in your articles: if you are getting paid vacation, the PTO, um, you better do it in advance so that you don't have
Yeah,
a
it's
disappointment.
well, right. If you want to go when you want to go, it's better to negotiate that far in advance so
Mm.
that where if you hit them at the last second, hit him or her and say, "Hey, I need to leave next week," your
Yeah.
chances of getting that time off is much less.
Yeah, don't be working like, in hospitality in San Diego in summer and say that I want out. You got to wait till, the winter or something. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Because yeah, you don't go in high season, but sometimes you could still negotiate that, right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
you can. Negotiations are always fun. So looking forward to next weekend, and next month, Ward. We're going to be talking more about hot stuff. You never know, right? Heat, all
Oh,
kinds of good stuff.
hot
Breaks and
stuff. Oh, yes. Right, right, right,
see
right.
hot stuff.
Yes, the
Keep
heat
on that summer
regulations in
theme.
California. Yes. Yeah, you got to be careful of not overheating your employees. I
Yeah,
agree.
don't bake your employees. All right. And no waking and baking either. All right. So everyone, best employment attorney San Diego.com is the website to go. And the article again is linked in the show notes and is on blendradioandtv.com. Have fun, Ward.
Thanks so much. I plan to have some fun. Hope you
Good.
do too.
And everyone listening. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's California Employment Law Podcast with San Diego attorney Ward Heinrichs. Keep up with Ward at bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com or follow him on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also subscribe to Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com.